station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be a fascinating interview. Dr. David L. Cook is on the phone. He is, among other things, a clinician, an educator, one of the nation's leading authorities on vision therapy. In fact, he's one of the pioneers in the use of 3D movies in the treatment of crossed eyes. He's a contributor to the Journal of the American Optometric Association. He's with the American Journal of Optometry and Physiological Optics and the Journal of Vision Development, and he's an award-winning journalist and author. And his book has nothing to do with any of that. Right? It is titled Biomythology: The Skeptic's Guide to Charles Darwin and the Science of Persuasion. Let's find out about this. Dr. Cook, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Larry. It's great to be here.
Yeah, all those credentials, and we lead up to a book that doesn't even seem to be associated with what you have done as a profession.
Well, what happened is, for 25 years, we were helping kids get rid of headaches, blurred vision, double vision, and we were told that what we were doing was not scientific. Well, then
really?
And finally the National Institute ran a study, and sure enough, we are able to help children get rid of double vision and headaches and loss of concentration. And so I started to wonder if the big societies could band together and say that what we were doing didn't work and use the name of science. Maybe they were using the name of science to sell a lot of ideas. And that's why I started looking at what I called biomythology.
That is amazing that you were doing something that was working, and they didn't seem to think that it was somehow scientific or provable. That's what science is something provable, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. But, the idea behind science, it's like the search for truth.
Or testable.
You're looking for things that are testable. Sometimes science is just the art of arranging observations to fit theory, where they look at everything and they massage the data and they come up with it. But real science is a search for truth.
So is there a monetary reason for dismissing something that looks... In other words, were there eye doctors who said, you know what, this can't be real because I'm going to lose money if it is? Is that what was happening?
Well, yeah. There are two professions, eye professions. There's the medical profession, ophthalmology, and there's the optometric profession, which is an independent profession, much like dentistry is. And the two professions have fought like cats and dogs for 100 years. And so since vision therapy was one of the contributions, mainly of optometry, ophthalmology has attacked it. But they haven't attacked it just by attacking it. They've attacked it using the name of science. And so I get very careful when the name of science is used not to change the world, but to sell ideas.
Okay, and I think I see where you're going with that. And rather than using up your whole interview to ask you more detailed questions about how you corrected eyesight, because I get it. I think 3D movies would correct some cross-eyed. It makes sense that maybe some. I don't know all because I don't know enough about what you do.
They're definitely. They can be a bigger help to some. It's only one tool, like hundreds of other tools.
Right. Okay.
But as far as biomythology, it's really kind of the attempt to replace literature and philosophy and history and religion using biology.
Okay, so you kind of gave us the background as to how you went from what we know about you to what you've written about in the book Biomythology. So take us another step across that bridge. What was the next thing you perhaps pursued or started contemplating?
Well, I started reading a lot of the things about Darwin and evolution. There was a book that came out, it was 2009, it said evolution is true. Well, in science, science is not about truth. Science is about the search for truth. We never quite know where we're going to end up, and until the search is over, scientific truth is just the faith that future discoveries won't turn today's facts into tomorrow's fairy tales. I mean, if you think about it, once upon a time, there were 9 planets. And then Pluto lost the vote.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it's still a planet. It's just it's a dwarf planet.
That's right.
And to further illustrate what you're saying, you take us, one of the chapters takes us on a journey with Columbus and all the way through John Glenn about an idea, and then they had to set out to prove it.
Right. Yeah, it's just we are looking for the truth. But when somebody starts saying they have the truth, they stop being science.
Okay, does this apply to some of the stories that are in the news today, like global warming?
Okay. Well, what they are talking about, whenever you see that word scientific, you're usually looking at a sales pitch. You never heard Einstein saying, "You should believe me because I'm scientific." You see the word scientific. Beauticians use it to sell moisturizing cream, and physicians use scientific to sell botulism injections. No one uses the term scientific to sell electricity or smartphones. No one has to. The term scientific is only used when something is not selling itself.
That's very true.
Like Darwin or global warming. When the terms scientific and consensus are used in the same sentence, then you know you're in the middle of a sales pitch.
You know what it's like? It's like New York pizza. When you're in Florida, the sign says New York pizza everywhere. It's like, well, what would be wrong with a Florida pizza? How could it possibly be bad?
Yeah, it's probably kind of stale when it comes from New York. But, you know.
You have a very interesting observation about the thumb.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're trying to... Okay, we're always talking about terms. So where does your thumb start and where does your thumb end? And if you are representing hitchhikers, you know, you're going to look at it one way, and if you're representing palm readers, you're going to look at it another way. If you rotate that thumb without moving your hand, just rotate your thumb, you'll see it rotates way down in the middle of your palm. And that fleshy piece of flesh. So is that part of the thumb? That's the part that swells up when you sprain your thumb. But for most, the thumb divides at a little line even with your index finger. And where exactly on that line the thumb divides is hard to say. It's just a vote.
In somebody's effort to persuade somebody else, you have the whole topic of persuasion. I wanted to tell you a thought I've had. You know, a lot of times a law firm will say they have, 300 years of experience because they've got, 10 guys who've each been working for 30 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that logic doesn't even make sense. If I had 30 babies who each had 1 year of learning English, I wouldn't go to them because they've got 30 years of learning English.
Yeah.
not one of them would be able to teach me anything.
Right.
So I don't get that whole idea of adding up the years of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we added. I mean, everybody says in philosophy, everybody says is a fallacy, and the truth is, even when they're all experts, if everybody says it, doesn't make it true.
When a person is a skeptic, though, it really starts pushing people to try to prove things more, because there's always a doubt about something and people want to be right.
Exactly, and that in that case, science really becomes politics. It's kind of like you align your argument to sell your passion. If your passion is for Darwin, you align the evidence to sell Darwin. If the passion is for global warming, you align your evidence that way. There recently came out a book on global warming. It says Advancing the Science of Climate Control. And if you look at Darwin and you look at this book, they're very similar. Darwin, he dropped names like crazy. He talks about he knew the Lords of the Admiralty, the officers of the Beagle, the Right Honorable Chancellor of the Exchequer. And when you look at the science of global warming, you see like 30 biographies of prominent scientists, and probably 300 names are dropped on organizations, everything from the National Academy of Science, Columbia University, Stanford, Harvard, NASA, you name it, all those names are dropped. It doesn't matter about the names. What matters is about the argument and the evidence.
Right. Oh, we're on the same page, I think. It sounds like it so far. David, we need to take a little break. Dr. David Cook is our guest, and his book is called Biomythology, The Skeptic's Guide to Charles Darwin and the Science of Persuasion. Very interesting stuff. We'll take a break and be right back in about 3 minutes.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. It'll be delightful today with sunshine, high 66 to 70. Clear Monday night with lows ranging from the mid and upper 30s in the coldest inland spots to 50 along the coast. Sunny Tuesday, the high 72 to 76. Wednesday, intervals of clouds and sun, high 75 to 79. Thanksgiving Day, partly sunny, high 77 to 81. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Experience Christmas at Gaylord Palms, presented by Fujifilm Instax, November 18th through January 1st. Enjoy spectacular holiday decor, dining, and entertainment, including ice, with an all-new theme featuring a Charlie Brown Christmas, Cirque Dreams Unwrapped stage show, breakfast with Charlie Brown and friends, Alpine Rush snow tubing, and much more. It's everything Christmas in one extraordinary place. Tickets and overnight packages, including priority extra cool hour admission to ice, are on sale now at Christmas@GaylordPalms.com.
Christmas time is here, and this holiday season, Gaylord Palms puts a brand new twist on a Christmas classic. It's Ice, presented by Pepsi, featuring a Charlie Brown Christmas by Charles Schulz, November 18th through January 1st. See the whole Peanuts gang carved in over 2 million pounds of colorful ice, including Snoopy's decorated doghouse, and dancing at the holiday play rehearsal. Your awe-inspiring experience concludes with the wonder of the nativity in ice. For tickets and packages, visit Christmas@GaylordPalms.com.
Veterans are the foundation upon which our freedom is built. Listen to The Source, WOCA, each Thursday at 9 a.m. to Veterans News with Hank Whittier from Vets Helping Vets. You'll hear tributes, information on veterans issues, and stories that will make you laugh, cry, and feel proud. Veterans News always focuses on the military, past and present, and on our first responders. Veterans News is brought to you each week by Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens and Nursery, keeping you blooming since 1952.
Hey Ocala, this is Kelly Hart, executive editor of Ocala Magazine. Did you know last year Ocala Magazine won more awards in excellence than any other publication in Florida? And this year, Ocala Magazine was named Best Consumer Magazine in the state. Now you can join me every Friday at 10 a.m. on Ocala Magazine Radio, where we bring the pages of Ocala Magazine to life, right here on The Source. Ocala Magazine thanks you for making us number one. And remember, there is only one Ocala Magazine.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
All right, 18 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. On the phone is Dr. David L. Cook. He is the author of the book Biomythology, The Skeptic's Guide to Charles Darwin and the Science of Persuasion. And he's persuading us to question a lot of things. So, and that's a good thing. I think that's everything. You know, when I don't know, was it Galileo who contradicted the church, saying, you know, I think the sun is in the middle of this whole thing, not us.
Yeah, right.
You know, that I mean, he got a lot of grief for that, didn't he? He didn't even go to jail for that, I think.
He got a lot of grief. He was listening to Copernicus, and Copernicus told us that our sun is the center of the universe. He didn't say it was the center of our solar system. He said it was the center of the universe. Now, that got corrected as time goes on, but when we think of Copernicus, we say this was, you know, he changed the world, and he did. He moved the center of the universe by 8 light minutes, as far as light travels in 8 minutes. So that was achievement. And he also, of course, said something that contradicted the church, which is really why we say that he was a wonderful person, or at least why some say he was a wonderful person. I mean, he was a brilliant man, a great scientist.
So the science that enables us to land a rocket ship on an asteroid and get a hunk of it and bring it back to Earth, and take 30 years to do that or something like that. I mean, you hear these stories all the time. Yeah, we launched this rocket 5 years ago and it's landing on Mars today, and we knew exactly where it was going to land. I mean, that's amazing science right there.
These are miracles. Those are miracles. They've doubled our lifespan. They put people on the moon. They've given us the internet. These are miracles. That's what real science is about.
Yeah.
Biomythology is about changing our minds. It's like real science doubles our lifespans. But biomythology tells us that because we know what the brain is doing, we know we don't have free will. Well, that's a stretch. That's not real science. That's just, passion masquerading as science. So what it is, it's bait and switch. They will tell you, like, we have put people on the moon, and therefore you're a bad parent if you spank your unruly child, but you're a good parent if you put them on amphetamines. So the science there is that rear end cells are not as important as brain cells, or brain cells really aren't as important as rear end cells. So it's like there's this jump from the miracles of science to talking about the mind, and we don't know that much about the mind. We don't know how the brain creates the mind. It's a question that may not be answered for a long, long time.
Do the people that follow Darwin now have different ideas and takes on him and his theories? That the other people didn't years ago.
Yeah, when we're going to sell Darwin in the classroom, we come up with biological capitalism. We say that there are variations in organisms or creatures, depending on your persuasion, and that these variations gave the organism an advantage, a biological advantage, and the sum of these tiny little advantages changed us. Created species, created families, all of this type of thing. Now, you might find that really was just a fairy tale, that if there was a change in a master gene, you might have this enormous leap of change in an organism. That giraffe's neck might have happened in one leap, just from the right gene being changed. So Darwin's actual theory, the one that's taught in schools, may not be true at all. Now, evolution is obviously true because things change over time, and every time a species goes extinct, then evolution has occurred. Okay? So there's no doubt about evolution, but Darwin's story on it is different. It's kind of like in science. You've got actions, and you've got the stories that explain the actions. So, for instance, you don't want anybody to drop an anvil on your foot. It is a scientific fact that if you drop an anvil on your foot and you're not in a spaceship, it's going to really hurt.
Yeah, that's
okay?
Right. Hey, you
but why is it going to hurt? Is it going to hurt because of Newton's theory of gravitational attraction, or is it going to hurt because of Einstein's theory of warp space-time? The stories change, the facts remain. So I'm not a relativist saying that, well, it's only an opinion if anvils fall. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the stories that we're told change, and those are what we can't know unless we can read the future. And we've all just saw what happens when you try to read the future using statistics.
Yeah. Do you know there's one that I always I don't know if I'm failing at this or not, but there's one that says if you visualize it, and it'll happen. If you close your eyes and imagine yourself, I've imagined myself in a mansion for the past 50 years.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. And that was sold as science too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. It's like the guy who discovered Piltdown Man. He imagined himself discovering the missing link. He gave up a career in Europe. He got in the military so he could go to Asia where he thought he'd find the missing link. He imagined it, and sure enough, he found the missing link. Well, it wasn't really the missing link. That changed with time, but he thought he'd found it. And so that we had that. And then the guy who discovered Lucy, he, as a child, pictured himself again making this wonderful find of the missing link. And so he defined Lucy. So that idea that what we picture is what we find, that may be true. Now, if what we find is true, that's a different question.
So in other words, we just say, oh, this is it. This is what I wanted. My little mobile home is my mansion.
Yeah, and so these people oftentimes, when they're looking, they have a passion for their theory, and then they find evidence to support their passion.
Well, since they're doing that and renaming things and things like that, does a transgender issue ever come up at all?
Oh, is there science behind that? Oh, gosh.
In Darwinism?
Yeah, I have no idea of that. I mean, the transgender issue doesn't exactly align with Darwinism because there couldn't be much of a biological advantage to it. Mm-hmm. But that's just totally out of my realm. I'll pass on that one.
That's funny. Biomythology. I like the term. I mean, did you make that up, biomythology?
I did. And again, it is biology masker. See, the humanities tell us what it is to be human. If you look at Shakespeare, if you look at history, if you look at religion, they all tell us what it means to be human. And biomythology is the idea that biology can come along and replace all of that in telling us what it means to be human. Well, they can't. You know, it's just like we're in a ping-pong match between the genome and the environment, according to biology. Your genome, you know, all of your genetic information is one player in the ping-pong match, and the other players is the environment, and those two players, you're just a ping-pong ball, and you're being beaten back and forth between your genome and the environment, and you have no free will. You are not responsible for your actions. You have like free will, and then you have free excuse. Free will gets you in trouble, and free excuse gets you out of it.
You know, just about a half hour before you were on, we had a guest who's a humanist. He described himself as a former minister, now believes that it's all about the humans. And I asked him if he believed in intelligent design. If you take out God and Jesus and everything else from the conversation, just say, is there any intelligence? He said no. And I said, well, how is it possible that a flower knows to form a seed and to attract the bee and all that stuff? Mm-hmm. And he completely connected it to evolution. I don't know what the definition of intelligence is, but I think there is intelligence in a flower. It seems like it.
It would seem like it. That's the theory of natural selection or biological capitalism is used to explain everything, but it really doesn't work. It's like, not to be crude, but the cortex of your brain and your external genitals are controlled by the same master gene. So if you say there was an advantage to the cortex that made us breed more, well, was it, or was it the genitals? You know, it's kind of like we don't know.
I love this.
We don't know.
And so when somebody starts saying there was an advantage to something, and therefore, well, we don't know what the advantage was for. It's kind of like if you look at the donut, when God created it, did he create the hole in the donut, and then the rest of the donut just happened to be there? And so some of us stare at the hole and imagine transcendence, and others eat the donut and get fat, you know? So
exactly.
It's kind of like, which is it? You know, we don't know.
Stare at the hole. All right. Gosh, fun interview. All right, let's give the book away and then sell it. Let's see.
Wonderful
I have a copy of the book. It's called Biomythology. Call me if you want the copy that was sent to me. The rest of us have to go buy it. Dr. David L. Cook, do you have a website you can recommend?
You just want to go to Amazon, and then you can peruse the book, and you have to put in Biomythology to get it. And I don't know if anybody will be able to spell it, but it's okay.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
I had a tough time with it, but,
I think talk show listeners are generally very smart. Biomythology, it's spelled exactly as it sounds. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for being on the air with us today. That was fun.
Thanks for having me. I loved it, Larry.
All right, we will be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. A 20-year San Antonio police veteran is dead. Detective Benjamin Marconi shot twice as he rode a ticket in a squad car. Police Chief William McManus.
When the suspect reached the driver's side door, he fired a gunshot toward Detective Marconi, striking him in the head.
The suspect still at large. In St. Louis, police fatally shot a suspect after a cop was wounded in his patrol car sitting in traffic.
Police Chief Sam Dodson says the suspect was wanted for other crimes.
We think that this individual and this individual's friends are responsible for several of the crimes that have occurred in this neighborhood.
The St. Louis officer is in critical condition but is expected to survive.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. He joins NASCAR legends Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. Jimmy Johnson, a 7-time Sprint Cup champ after winning at Homestead, Miami.
Wow. Just overwhelmed.
Johnson came from the